hair drapes the horizon too fair. There is my lucky star tonight, the seventh sister of the Pleiades, walks in beauty like the night.
You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
And here I am. Now, James, I'll tell you, you're going to have to probably go through and reboot everything. It could be an internet problem that you're suffering. I don't know. Skype is interesting, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's to say the least. Yeah, at least I'll have a couple of days to get figured out. No biggie.
Yeah, well, anyway, you're still here tonight, so that's what's important.
Yeah. You know, it always, at the inconvenient times, you had all day to mess around with that, but no, it's got to do it while I was on the air.
Well, you know how many times I get ready to go on the air? I have the computers on all day. And I make sure if there's any updates, I do them, right? But undoubtedly, something happens. A last-minute update comes on 2 minutes before airtime. What do I do? I mean, I then I have to switch over to another computer instantly. But I always risk that it could do the same thing, which it has. I got caught a couple of times, you know, like all of a sudden I'm playing bumper music and all of a sudden the computer starts updating.
Yeah, I remember that. And then sometimes you got more than one computer doing it, so even your backup's kind of, you need a backup for a backup.
Well, I do have a backup for a backup, but when the backup does the same thing that the other one does, then you got a problem. So we got,
you're stuck.
I think we got James out there.
Sam?
Yeah. Well, who do we got? Sam, I'm sorry.
No, I'm here.
That's what, well, I hope you're here. That's what it just said.
Yes, Skype seems to be working fine on this end, so...
Yeah, it's not working for James.
James.
Yeah.
There might be another update.
Well,
One of those darn updates again.
Well, you know what? Just before I did go on, it did flash on one of my computers, Skype. Did I want to update? And I said no. So that means undoubtedly as soon as I turn the computer off, the next time I turn the computer on, it's going to update.
Yep.
At least it asks you a question.
Sometimes it doesn't do that. I mean, it was being nice to me tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, that happened to me, 3 months ago, and took like 4 hours to figure out, had to go in and figure out all the stuff to line everything up just to get it to work.
Yeah, that's...
Update, yeah, right.
Yeah, that's...
I hate that.
Well, that's technology for you guys.
That's one word for it.
I got a couple other words, but I can't say it over there because we're carried on some radio stations. I'd be in a lot of trouble. I get so many fines, it would be... Ugh.
Yeah, James doesn't sound too bad on a landline.
Yeah, but I got his volume all the way up.
Oh, okay.
So and
yeah, and I can barely hear you guys. Actually,
oh really?
Yeah, it's not nothing. It's not on your end. It's on my end. It's just bad connection, I think.
Well, that's because the snow is going to be coming in. It's getting cold. Your lines for your internet and all that stuff. You know, they don't fix this stuff till it breaks. You know that.
Yeah, I know, because here's the thing. It was like 50 degrees today, then it drops down to 30, so you get all that frost and that cold in there, and it freezes all them wires. They're right outside, you know, and then the connection, so I'm sure it has an effect on it.
Well, you know where I live, when I first moved here, the power company charged us extra because they decided for about a mile and a half on the main road coming down where I live, they're going to bury the power lines and the phone lines in the ground. So, no, they haven't had any problem with that. But you go a mile and a half down the road, guess what? There's telephone poles everywhere. What did they accomplish?
Right. And then they probably charged the customer. They didn't come out of their pocket, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, no. Everybody who pays the power bill here had to pay extra money because it's expensive to bury it. That's probably why they quit doing it. But you know what? I have to admit, they're pretty good. When I first moved here, we had a power outage that lasted like 13 days.
Wow.
Good thing I had an RV, okay? One of those big diesel ones, like 49-foot one that I could, I had a queen-size bedroom and all that stuff with slide-outs. We lived in it for those days because I had my heat. I had, everything. We watched DVD movies. We were all set, nice and warm because it happened when it was cold. And then years before that, I lived up a place called Bonnie Lake Taps. And I lived in a mobile home that the people bought, and it was made in Florida. And they brought it up here for some reason and then put it on property. And when we lost our power up there for about a week, in the middle of winter, I had ice forming on my wood paneling inside. I tell you.
They didn't have much insulation inside that between the walls because it came from Florida. They wouldn't do that.
Probably didn't have any insulation.
Nope.
Ouch.
Yeah, I can tell you that. It was freezing cold.
I can imagine. I couldn't imagine. Especially up there. You get some cold comes in there sometimes off the water or down off the mountains, depending where you live, I guess.
Well, last year it was sure cold, and we had, we went like 20 years with maybe like a half an inch of snow, and then last year Mother Nature just dumped it on us.
Well, yeah, remember there was, you got that snowstorm and it took out your, I can't even think what I'm trying to say. But anyway, your backup system was out because of the snow.
That's when I still had satellite, as a backup. It took, that didn't do it. I lost the internet and everything. The only reason why I got the internet backup is because one of my listeners was a vice president of the company. Okay, and I would call them up, and they would lie to me. They say, "Oh, the internet will be up in like 3 hours." Well, 3 hours go by, and the internet's not up. So you call them again. "Oh, it'll be up in like 2 hours." This went on for 2 days, and finally, I got a hold of somebody. It was a vice president, and I said, "Hey, I do this show, such and such." She goes, "Oh, I listen to it." I said, "I can't do my show. The internet's down." And you know what? He put a crew out, and they got my neighborhood or my area up within a couple hours. Now, the rest of Gig Harbor, this side of Gig Harbor, was all dead. But you know what? Because I hit the right person and talked to the right person, bang, they got it fixed.
Yeah, that was a stroke of luck. Luckily, well, he likes your show, and that was good. But it just goes to show you, you would have been out. Been without cable or electric or whatever it was there for, a week maybe?
Yeah, I think it was about a week, maybe 8 days. But the bad thing is, when it all happened, I figured, okay, well, you know what? No big deal. I got satellite dish. Well, we have all cedar trees, and Sam knows, he's been here. We got trees all around my house and on one side of it. And one of the trees lost a big branch. Well, of all places that comes down on the roof, is where the satellite dish was. Boom, gone.
Yeah, you wasn't meant to do any radio shows that week, I guess.
Well, it was hard not to be able to do it. I can tell you that.
Oh, I know. It was. I know it.
Well, anyway, Clarence has some good ideas. I disagree with him about the alien situation. I disagree with him on the portals. I think the portals come and go, but I think it all has to do with the magnetics of the Earth. I think they're shifting as the magnetic field is shifting, so the portals that open up and close. Again, I also think that maybe the aliens might have technology where they can create a porthole to come into somebody's house or zap somebody out of their car. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different theories that all could fit in.
I agree totally, and I think they can make portals. I think they can use them to put them anywhere they want, to make them as traps. You could be walking aimlessly somewhere in the woods or somewhere and just walk into one and be gone, just disappear. I think it's plausible. I mean, if they're that many years ahead of us advanced, who's to say what their limits are?
And I also think there's portals that take us back or maybe forward in time, too. You know, again, there's people that have claimed they have gone back in time. They were walking down a main street, downtown of a main city, and all of a sudden they go back in time, and then they were lucky enough to come back, or they had a very good story, one of the two. But I can think of a couple of them that really sound interesting. But then I start thinking about that Charlie Chaplin film that was done in either 22 or 23, where you clearly see somebody with not a cell phone, but some type of communication device about the size of a cell phone, talking on it. Now, people have come back and said, oh, that was a hearing aid. Go look up hearing aids in 1920s. Okay? They sat next to your chair in your house, and they were like a big box, okay, with tubes in it. That was a hearing aid, not something in their hand.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Think about the size of the batteries.
Well, if the batteries would have had been really huge at that time, or if they, you know, in your house, they could have ran on 115 volts, but they weren't something you could put in your coat jacket or your pant pocket or your shirt pocket and walk around with.
Plus, you don't talk into them either.
Yeah, what did you say? You're not talking in the cone big enough. I'm sorry, you got to get up to the cone to talk to me.
Yeah, the lady was talking into that piece too, like a cell phone, and that was way before any kind of cell phone.
That's what I'm saying. It was some type of communication device, right, Sam?
Oh, I think so, totally. Because you got to eliminate the possibilities. What was the level of technology at that time? You know, I mean, the only thing that could fit in a small box, what she was holding, would have been possibly transistors. Well, you're talking about even before that.
The transistors wouldn't have fit in it because think about it. When you were a kid, transistor radio, 2 transistor, 4, 10, 14 transistor radio, what size were they?
Oh, yeah. And they weren't even invented yet when that video was taking place.
No.
So what in the world was she holding? And she was clearly talking into it. It looked, because she was holding it to her ear, clearly talking to it. And I don't recall any device that was mechanical per se or acoustic per se that would have even resembled anything close to being a hearing device.
Yeah, you're right.
It had to be communications.
I think so. Probably for time travel or something, you know, like Star Trek, you know, Captain Kirk's little communicator.
It's so funny when you think about the Star Trek series and how on several episodes where they would go down to a planet, and when they had that non-interference agreement, what do they call it, the Prime Directive, where they would not interfere with any society that hadn't reached a level 1 society that had warp drive. But they would still go down to a planet to observe, but they would make sure they wore the period dress of the code, or, you know, the clothing that they were dressing down there, and would just simply observe the society. And I think, who knows, this could be going on right now. They're coming down here, and they probably figure people wouldn't notice that. You know, I'm holding a device. Or there was another picture. I've seen a few of these other pictures. There was this guy had a T-shirt on, and he had modern sunglasses on, and supposedly the picture was taken back in the 20s. So I'm sure some of these were hoaxed. Of some of them, you really have to think, you know, about the legitimacy. I think they were real.
Well, Charlie Chaplin was real because was tested. The footage was tested by Kodak, and Kodak said it was never altered.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you can't deny